everyone, Glenn Jones here, and I'm here with Caleb Durward, our Invitational competitor with his Grixis deck tech. Now we did deck tech read Duke's Grixis deck earlier, but yours is a little different, so we're going to talk about it. You have a lot of the same basic cards with removal, Snapcaster Mage, Karn, counterspells, but what really makes it different is we've got this Desolate Lighthouse Ponder Temporal Mastery thing going on. So let's talk about how we got to this deck. So where were we starting with Invitational prep?
We were getting to the desperate stage where we test every deck in the format against Delver and they all lose. And so we're like slowly becoming resigned to play either Esper Control or Delver. And then I saw this deck on Moto and I was like, snap call, that one. I want that. I want to be doing exactly that in this format. Basically the deck plays out a Lone Revenant. Which has hexproof, so Delver can't Vapor Snag it, or what have you, and it's larger than most of the creatures, so it's difficult for them to block. And then you cast a Whip Flare to clear out whatever little blockers they do have, and then once the Revenant hits them, you get to start impulsing. And the first impulse will find you more removal to ensure that it hits again, or it'll find you a Time Walk to ensure that it hits again, and once that starts going, it just does not stop.
Wow, so you find yourself frequently curbing, like, 5-drop Revenant and then turn 6 attack.
I mean, you never play it on 5.
Oh, you never play it on 5.
I mean, never is a strong word. It's not really a turn 5 card. I mean, it's a 2-of in the deck. Like, you'll find it eventually, and when you eventually find it, you will start hitting them, and they will lose.
Okay.
Basically, it plays a slow, grindy control matchup where you're looting with Lighthouse and flashing back Think Twices and killing all of their things, and then all of a sudden you just take all the turns and kill them with a Karn or a Revenant.
Okay. So Temporal Master is obviously the tool to take all the turns.
Right.
And it lets you get your extra Lone Revenant
helps you ramp into Karn.
Lets you ramp into Karn as its semi-explore function. Once you have Karn in play, obviously, it's completely nuts.
Right.
There's getting repeated Karn activations. So the engine is, you've got Desolate Lighthouse and Ponder to help you set these up. So let's talk about them. Ponder is not that unusual for a control deck to be playing these days. We see it a fair bit.
Right, it's seen more and more playing control decks.
Sure.
It's used with Snapcasters, probably.
To give you access to the Silver Galata function.
Right. It doesn't really help me hit my land drops because all my lands come into play untapped anyway, and Think Twice is already doing that. So it's really just to like show me when I have a Miracle on top of my library so that I can Lighthouse, loot, and Miracle on the end of their turn so they can't prepare for it. Do
you find yourself holding the Snapcaster Ponder thing frequently towards later turns so you can hold open a leak or something like that, or
towards the later
do you do
turns?
It early? Like, would you turn 3 Snapcaster Ponder?
It always depends. I've turned 3 Snapcaster Ponder, and I've also like held up mana when I didn't have leak and like held the Snapcasters and Ponders, and then like missed land drops so that they like wouldn't run a Geist out, you know.
So we've got the Lighthouse, and let's just talk about why you like this card so much, because clearly it's one of the better cards in the deck. It's one of the reasons to play this deck.
Right, yeah, definitely. It's the late game engine. Control decks need a late game engine of some kind of card filtering. Usually Grixis decks like this play Forbidden Alchemy, which is quite good at that. It just ensures that you do not flood out, because you're going to have like 1 action or gassy card per 4 or whatever, and Desolate Lighthouse just lets you see 2 cards per turn, so it's like you're casting a Think Twice every turn, sort of. And it lets you filter out your Whip Flares against the control decks or your Pillar of Flames, or it lets you filter out a Temporal Mastery that was stuck in your hand since the start of the game. Basically, your extra lands against the aggro decks. It ensures that you can actually win the game at some point instead of just doing nothing and dying.
Okay. So you've got, as your sweeper of choice, the Whip Flares. Obviously, in this color combination, there are a lot of sweepers. Black Sun Zenith, like you can technically play Ratchet Bomb, you've got Slag Storm available, all kinds of stuff. Why'd you land on Whip Flare? What was the reasoning for that?
I'm a big fan of Ratchet Bomb, but the reason I'm playing Whip Flare in this deck is because Geist of St. Traft is one of the problem cards, and Whip Flare is just the best answer to it. I thought a lot about Bonfire of the Damned. It's one of my favorite cards. We're already playing a pile of Miracles. Why not play Bonfire of the Damned? But Whip Flare is just better against Geist. It's better against Lingering Souls. It's just ideal.
Okay. Mostly conventional stuff in here. I know your Consecrated Sphinx is your 1 fatty to go with your Karns, basically.
Right, it's the weakest card in the deck.
So why did you think you still needed to keep the 1, basically, I guess?
Against red-green or something, you just play it and it kills them. Like, you just draw a pile of Whip Flares and keep their board locked down. It doesn't really do anything against control decks or Delver. It's just there for aggro.
Well, let's look at some of our sideboard options. We've already had seen Fettergeist from some other players, so you're on the Fettergeist train. How do you like him?
I actually haven't played a ton of post-board games. I almost cut him, but I shouldn't say creator. The person I got the deck from on Moto was running them, and he he said that they were necessary against Delver postboard, or not necessary, but quite good, because they take out a few Vapor Snags. So all of a sudden, you can play a Fettergeist, and all of a sudden they can't attack with their Geist of St. Traft, or their Blade Splicer Golem, that sort of thing.
You've also got in here a 1 Cavern of Souls that you're bringing in.
Right.
Do you just like this as a way to jam your guy down against the control decks?
The original list had 2. I think I like 1. It ensures that you can play a Lone Revenant and pass the turn with a pile of mana open, so they can't like mana leak you to tap you down.
Okay.
Which is ideal.
So
it just makes Lone Revenant the best Thrun ever.
You're naming Spirit most of the time with the card?
Most of the time, yeah.
Okay.
Related, Fettergeist is a Spirit.
Yes, I was about to say. I don't know. We got some. Might have something to keep in mind for the post Scars future, perhaps.
Yep.
And you're running 3 Combust, which I think we can safely say is a good nod towards these blue-white Seachrome Coast decks.
Right. The original list had 4, but I cut 1 for a Doomblade because in my game 1s I wasn't really having trouble killing an Angel or a Delver of Secrets. Sure. I wasn't ever really losing to those cards. And Doomblade is another card that can kill an Angel, and it can also kill a Golem token.
Highly relevant.
Right, and the main deck used to have 4 Go for the Throats, because Go for the Throat's more relevant against zombies, but that's more of a presence on Moto. I'm not sure how much of it will be here. I'm sure there will be some of it, but I wanted to split between Doomblade and Go for the Throat so that I could answer a Golem token more reliably in the main deck, because Whipflare doesn't answer it.
Okay, excellent. I think that about wraps it up. Good luck today. May you take many additional turns.
That is the goal.
Right.
Thank you.